is not tarrying yet any longer. There is magic, music, and math awaiting us inside. So I declare this festival open. Lord Mayor,
For a wide the gate and fire the cannon! Alright, ready? Try it again. Now we're gonna do it slow. Slowly back and forth.
Hello, this is Meredith and Doug of This Place. We are here to discuss the disability accessibility of the Ohio Renaissance Festival.
It hurts every time.
I'm going to use that every single time.
And I'll always be disappointed. Okay, anyway. So we went to the Renaissance Fair, as you can see, and mobility-wise, it can be rough if you have a wheelchair that has small wheels like our daughters. What else? You have...
So the path is gravel. There are grassy spots which are easier to navigate, but there's no grass leading up to the shops. So if you want to go to any of the shops there, then you're going to have to travel on the gravel. And the day that we went, it was several days after some rain, and so there were also some puddles that we needed to avoid as well.
Yeah. Now we did see a few people with larger wheelchairs with larger wheels in the front. They said those are not as difficult to push on the gravel, and they also rent out power scooters. I think they have 4 or 5 now, and they plan on getting 8 more by next season. So I know they're working on the mobility issue.
And it's $50 a day.
Yeah, $50 a day to rent the cart. As for the shops, there's probably about 60% of them you could get into. But, a lot of them don't have ramps. And what we found out is that it's up to the individual shopkeep. They own their building. The Renaissance Fair just rents them the lot. So if the building's been there since the Renaissance began, not Renaissance, back in the 1400s, they didn't have to go to ADA requirements. But all the new buildings do have either straight right into the building or a ramp. Just the older ones don't, and they may add them, but that's all up to the individual shopkeepers.
Yeah, and the good news is that the shops that you can get into, they're usually open enough to wheel around in. I didn't find any shops that were particularly difficult to navigate.
No, I didn't either. Yeah, and all the food shops, all the food places will roll right up. I don't think there was any food that you couldn't get to.
No, again, they're just on the gravel path.
Yeah, they're right on the gravel path right to it, so no steps or ramp to worry about with food.
Right. Now, there are a lot of shows there also at the Renaissance Festival. You have the mud show. We saw the knife throwing show. And there are probably about 4 or 5 of those show venues. It was difficult for me. I think there was accessible seating, but it was difficult to identify.
They're not marked.
Yeah.
And none of them have stairs, so all of them have just your gravel path or dirt path to this different seating areas. So it's not like the stairs are stopping you. It's just more like there's no cutout seat area for the chair. So there's some smaller rows that you can squeeze the chair next to.
Yes, that's what also, many of the shows ask for audience participation. Some of those stadiums have steps up to the stage. Some of them have ramps. So that's also not very consistent.
Yeah. Now, they do have just a walkthrough showing you the old torture devices, and that is completely accessible.
Yeah. That also reminds me, they have a maze set up every year. That is not accessible.
At all.
At all. So,
very loose gravel, and the very end of it, you have to climb up stairs to get down to a slide to leave.
Yes. So, avoid the maze.
Yep.
The final thing I wanted to mention about mobility then was the toileting facilities.
Yeah.
So, what I love about the Renaissance Festival is that they don't have porta potties. They actually have flush toilets and running water to wash your hands. And their accessible bathrooms are large enough to get a wheelchair in and to go to the restroom.
A scooter even.
Yeah, probably even a scooter.
Yeah.
So that was a big plus for the Ohio Renaissance Festival. However, if you need to change an adult diaper, right now there's really not a place to do that.
Yeah, they're working on building a new first aid building, so it has an area. Right now they have a tent set up with a bed with a curtain. That's not a lot of room to move around, I don't think.
Right. When they build that, that's going to be, as you're walking into the Renaissance Festival, that's going to be to your right.
Yeah.
Oh, and we should mention that if you need to rent a scooter, that's to the left at Souvenirs and Gifts.
Yeah,
so,
right when you walk in.
Yeah. So I think that sums up the
Yeah,
mobility.
that's mobility.
What rating would you give it?
I'm gonna give it a 3. It's because the gravel makes it rough, but it's not like there's staircases that we have to go around. Like everywhere is, all the hills and stuff like that are just still gradual hills. It's not like walking around the zoo. It's the hills was manageable, but the gravel did make it rough for the little front wheels on our wheelchair. So I'm gonna give it a 3. Also because of almost 50% of the shops we couldn't get into.
Yeah, I don't know. I might give it a 2.
A 2. I can see the 2 also.
Yeah, I think it's kind of right in the middle there.
It also depends on why you go to the Renaissance Fair. Some people go just to watch the shows. that would be a 3. If you're going for shopping, it's 2.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to blind or visually impaired. So right now they have absolutely nothing if you are blind or visually impaired there at the Renaissance Festival.
I mean, you can bring your dog in, but there's not really much that they offer. I mean, some of the shows are funny.
Yeah.
If you want to enjoy some good comedy, they're silly people. All of them are silly, and it's good laughs.
That's true. However, we got the opportunity to speak with Dave while we were there at the Renaissance Festival. Dave, we didn't get his last name, but he is one of the owners of the Renaissance Festival, and so he filled us in on many of their plans for the future. And so one of their plans, they've started reaching out to schools for the blind and visually impaired so that they can set up outings there at the Renaissance Festival that might have what he described as kind of like a guided tour of the Renaissance Festival. So if that's something you're interested in, you might want to contact your local school for the blind or visually impaired, or the Blind and Visually Impaired Center of Cincinnati, or wherever you are, and see if that kind of thing has been set up already. Yeah. He also talked about setting that kind of thing up for people who are deaf or hearing impaired.
Right. I think those won't be together, kind of like how the school is blind and deaf.
No, it's not blind and deaf. It's just blind and visually impaired.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought the school was both. Why am I thinking that? Oh, well.
You're thinking about St. Rita's School for the Deaf. That's just deaf.
Oh, that's just deaf? I thought they also had... Yeah. Okay. I thought they did blind, too. Oh, well.
So if you are hard of hearing or deaf, you should know they do have microphones and speakers at their shows. Not all their performers use the microphones, though. And I didn't see any system for headphones, and I didn't see a loop system. So even if you have a T-coil in your hearing aid, I don't know if you'll be able to connect into their audio system.
Right. So definitely take that in consideration when you're going. Possibly get someone that can assist you.
I also found at one point I had to stand at the back of one of their stage areas, or the back of the audience, because our youngest was getting fussy. And even with the mics, I found it a bit difficult to hear the performers. Mm-hmm. So take that into account. You want to sit close to the stage. Now, if you rely on sign language interpretation, there is no one there who does signing. Again, that might be something that they add if they're going to do a tour for people who are deaf. But if you are completely deaf and you need a sign language interpreter, you might want to bring someone with you.
Yeah. All right.
So
we got the sensory stuff going on. No?
We need to do our rating for visually impaired and our rating for hearing impaired.
Visually impaired is like a 1.
Yep. Definitely.
I mean, the Renaissance Fair is based on visual effects.
Blind and visually impaired.
It's kind of like baseball.
Hearing impaired?
Hearing impaired, I'm going to give it a 2. I mean, they are pretty loud, and they do have speaker systems, so if you want to sit in here, you can.
I would say, if you're just hearing impaired, I'd probably give it a 3, because I think it could go either way. But if we're doing deaf and hearing impaired, I would give it a 2. I think that's
good. Well, I guess you don't need to hear stuff to go into the shops and enjoy what they sell. So, yeah, that's a good point. All right.
So then sensory.
Oh, the sensory. It will, if you're sensory, there's some stuff that would drive you crazy.
A lot of fragrances.
Yes. You have a lot of shops that sell incense, and they burn like 4 or 5 of them at a time. You have a pipe shop that allows smoking in the pipes in there. Plus, the Renaissance Fair does not... the only rule against smoking is you can't smoke in the shops or near the shops.
So there are no designated smoking areas.
Yeah.
Everyone walks around smoking. Yeah. Well, not everyone, but... No. Yeah.
Everyone that smokes.
Yes.
Can smoke. Plus the noise. You have lots of noise if that's a problem. From, your knights battling in armor to just people screaming and yelling like town callers.
Yeah, we also went during their Celtic weekend, and so there was bagpipes and Celtic
drums.
music. Yeah,
it and it was they paraded around quite a bit. So I mean, even that was actually frustrating because they'd be playing near shows and you couldn't hear the performers talk. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I have a fairly moderate tolerance for noise, I would say. Sometimes it really gets to me, sometimes I'm okay. But by about 2 o'clock the day we went, we had been there since 10 a.m., and by 2 o'clock, I was kind of done. So if you have someone who's really noise sensitive, bring your noise-canceling headphones.
Yes. Now, the Dave again was talking about that they're working on possibly making a path off towards the backside that doesn't have any shops or anything, just like a walking path, kind of help you get away from the noise. But, it's not like that's going to be just designated for people to get away from noise. There's probably going to be people that walks back there and still, it might still be noisy. But that's not made yet, so we'll have to see. Right now, there's not the best place to go if you want a
sensory break.
Sensory break? I'm not even sure. Possibly the back, like if you walk into the right back corner where those hanging chairs are, that's the quietest area that I found, just because there's no shows over there. There's not any games. It was just normal people background.
And then you can spend a break in one of those lovely hammocks.
True, yeah.
Which we bought for our youngest.
What was this called?
I don't even remember.
All right. Excellent. There's the plug.
So, sensory rating.
It's down to 3 also, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're right there. It's definitely middle of the road.
So then the final thing we wanted to touch on was medical concerns. So, Dave said the thing that they battle with the most is the heat. So if you are heat sensitive for any reason, if you're type 2 diabetic or, if the sun really messes with you, make sure you drink lots of water. If you've run out of money and you can't afford to buy a bottle of water at any of the food stands, you can go to First Aid and get a cold bottle of water. So there's no reason to go dehydrate. Remain hydrated.
Yep. And also, if you're diabetic, keep that in mind, because he said there's a lot of people that just don't think about their diabetes while they're playing at the Renaissance Fair.
Yes. So then the last thing is food sensitivities. So they do not have lists of allergy-free food. They said if you're concerned about that, you can always bring food, leave it in your car. You can exit, eat in the parking lot, and then come back in. You can also, when you get to the front gate, ask to speak to the head chef, and the head chef can give you some pointers on what to avoid and what is good for you. I was delighted this year to see that they have added an extra food area back to the left, and it had a Middle Eastern restaurant which had vegan and gluten-free options.
Right, and it even advertised that on the billboard. It was decent food. I'm not particularly, gung ho on that type of food, but we gave it a try anyway.
Yeah,
it wasn't bad. It held us over till dinner.
It did.
Yeah,
and we just shared a meal.
Yeah, we did. We just bought one of the meals and shared it. But yeah, it was overall, it was still a great and fun experience. I believe that.
I really like the Renaissance Festival. I like that ability to be silly and dress up and pretend you're someone else for a little bit. You should know that if you're not going there for the shows, the Renaissance Festival really is, you pay to get in so that you can spend money.
Yeah, it is. But now, if you happen to know or are an engineer that would be willing to help the Renaissance Fair, they have been trying to figure out what to do with the paths to try to make it more accessible. This is the best they could come up with this gravel, only because packed down dirt works fine, but they're prone for flooding. So with the flooding, they're afraid of the concrete being cracked or sinking. They're afraid of the same with the asphalt. There's not really a good answer. So if you know somebody, or if there's somebody that knows how to make an accessible area that floods a lot and is mostly dirt paths accessible, definitely get a hold of Dave from the Renaissance Fair and let him know that you're willing to help.
So then the last thing we need to do is give a rating out of 5 to medical concerns.
Oh, medical concerns. They have things set in place. I'm going to give it a 4. I mean,
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. All right. So I think that's it. Thank you guys for listening as always, and we look forward to seeing you in November when we were going to go to the Cincinnati Museum Center.
Yes. Hopefully, as long as it's finished.
Yeah.
All right.
So until next month. Bye.
Before I was so rudely interrupted by the Scots, fancy that, the Scots rudely interrupting someone. I know I speak craziness. Master Doug, you qualify for the special maze song.
You want to join my...
Turn her around.
Hello.
Feel free to sing along if you know the words. If you don't, kindly shut the hell up. Words in dark despair, people dying everywhere. But happy birthday, happy birthday. I like children, yes I do. Boiled, baked, or in a stew. But happy birthday, happy birthday. May the cities in your wake burn like candles on your cake. But happy birthday, and now that you're the age you are, your demise cannot be far. But happy birthday to you.